Hey everyone, so finishing up our 6-part series on the Ascension booster set, we're finishing with light today. The reason I'm finishing with light is it is the one color that has support for the MAGIMAZE archetype, and also no one likes it. So because light is the only support for the Great MAGIMAZE, I figured we'd start with all of the MAGIMAZE support cards first. Our first one is a key one as well. It's Maiden of the Maze, SERIAH, 2-cost unit with 1000 power, and she has an arrive ability that says choose one. So you can either add the Great MAGIMAZE from your deck or discard zone to your hand, or remove a maze counter from target the Great MAGIMAZE. Obviously fantastic support, being able to tutor the MAGIMAZE directly from your deck or back from your discard zone if it was destroyed is great already. But then removing a maze counter is obviously the strategy of the Great MAGIMAZE. I do like how this is an arrive ability, because that means it pairs nicely with Rudy to get its effect twice, to possibly get that one-turn kill with the Great MAGIMAZE. As I spoke in the Argent review, I think that's how you're going to have to win with that deck, because of stuff like ZEPHYR Crystal. So Maiden is definitely a key piece, and I think you obviously need to run 3 of her in any kind of MAGIMAZE strategy. So our next support card is also a unit. It's BAGDOMS, the Friendly Beast. It's a 4-cost unit with 2500 power. Has the Guardian ability and Unblockable ability. And his effect reads, remove a maze counter from the Great MAGIMAZE that has 5 or more counters and exhaust target unit. So this is really good. It might even be better than SERIAH, to be honest. You can bring it out with David Bowie, which is great. Because of that Guardian ability, if you play Bowie for 3, bring this out, you have a big blocker for your opponent's turn. And then if you want to get aggressive with it, you can swing on through because it has Unblockable. This card pretty much wants you to play Sola as your spirit. You don't have a whole lot of support cards for MAGIMAZE in light, so you can use Sola as the splash and still fit in all the cards that you need. And then each turn, if it has 5 or more counters, you're removing a maze counter and also exhausting a target unit, so you're slowing your opponent down from destroying your towers. Great support for the MAGIMAZE, and you definitely need to play at least one of these. If you play multiple, I don't think that's a bad thing, but being able to tutor it directly from the deck with Bowie is kind of nice. Next up, we got BAGDOMS Roar. It's a 1-cost spell with instacast, and it reads exhaust target unit, but if you control the Great MAGIMAZE, you can exhaust up to 2 instead. So it's a good stall card, for sure. Being able to exhaust 2 units for the cost of 1 on your opponent's turn is very nice to stall out, which plays into the Great MAGIMAZE strategy. The issue is you're usually going to be using light as your splash, and if you're running 3 SERIAH, you're probably going to play at least 1 or 2 BAGDOMS itself, and then the next card we're going to see, you're going to want to run 3 most likely. So I don't know where you're going to fit this in, especially if you want to fit in maybe like a finishing ray, for the mass field wipes whenever things get dicey. So I don't know if this would fit, even though it is an option. So our final MAGIMAZE support card is Through Dangers Untold. It's a 4-cost spell that reads, play only while you control the Great MAGIMAZE. You can choose one effect, but if you control Maiden of the Maze SERIAH, you may choose both instead. Now your 2 options are units and towers you control to take no damage until your next turn, or remove 2 maze counters from target the Great MAGIMAZE. So obviously great support for the MAGIMAZE in both regards. Both effects are very useful. Having your towers and also units not take any damage until your next turn can make this a little bit more of a aggressive card. If you want to swing in with your monsters and they have some kind of big monster on the field, you can swing on through. And then also being able to remove the maze counters is great, and it's the only card right now that allows you to remove more than 1. So in my opinion, this is definitely a 3 of if you're going for that alternate win con version of the Great MAGIMAZE deck. So now that the MAGIMAZE stuff is out of the way, we're going to go over the rest of the light cards. The first one is Warrior of Soul. It's a 1-cost unit with 500 power, and it's got the Brawler ability. So this guy's pretty useless, in my opinion. A 500 Brawler is going to do nothing other than take out a Phantasmal Guards, but trade with it. So I don't see any use in this card. This card seems completely worthless. Moving on, we have Shard-Armored Worm. It's a 5-cost unit with 2500 power. It's a dragon, so it can be searched out with Dragonholt. And it has an arrive ability that says equip target gear from your discard zone to this card. And then it has a ruined ability that says destroy all units with cost equal to or less than the number of gear that were equipped to this card. So this card is very close to being good. In my opinion, the best option for this card is Glory the Sealed Blade, which gives it Brawler. So whenever you have that arrive ability to target a gear in your discard zone, this card will then get Brawler. It can take out something. And then Glory will activate, destroying this, activating its Ruined ability, and destroy any unit that has cost 1 or 0. And then bring out Glory. Glory has Brawler, take out something else, and then bring out the small units. The problem is Glory doesn't have any real good targets yet. He's got some okay targets, but in set 4, at least I can predict that Citra will be legal by then, which is going to be a Argent Saga promo for Hartford if the coronavirus doesn't stop that. And that card is a fantastic option for Glory. So after that happens, this card might see some play, but as of now, probably not. So moving on, we got Gallant SQUIRE. It's a 1-cost unit with 1,000 power and a Knight unit, which is good. It has the Arrive ability that says the next gear you play this turn costs 1 less to play. I really like this card. It pairs very nicely with Shining Shard Dagger. So turn 2, you can play this card and then equip Shard Dagger to it to give you a 2-cost unit with quickness and 1,500 power. Never a bad thing, especially with light, considering they want to kill you really darn quick. Also, attaching a Caliber is never a bad thing, or Longinus as well if you want to be a little more defensive. But another 1,000 power Knight unit other than Corm Squire is very nice addition for light for sure. So I think this card's going to be added into light strategies. So we also got a new gear in this set. It's Golden Rose Blades, 2-cost gear. This says equip only to target Knight unit, and the equipped unit gets plus 500 and gains unblockable. Whenever your opponent plays a spell, you may add this card from your discard zone to your hand. Very good gear in my opinion. Giving something unblockable on command is very nice, along with a plus 500. It does have the downside of only being able to be equipped to a Knight unit, but I don't think that's a huge downside. And then also being able to continuously get it back from the discard zone is pretty nutty whenever your opponent plays a spell. I really like this paired with AURON, the other champion that we have other than Liam, especially in a MAGIMAZE strategy, because this is basically a free discard for AURON's effect. So that's nice, but even outside of a MAGIMAZE strategy, it's a nice option to add into Liam decks as well. Because you can search it right out with Liam. You can pitch it for free, essentially, to give anything plus 500 and then possibly get it back when your opponent plays a spell. And the downside of the only equipping to a Knight unit, I think the strategy going forward for light is going to be focused mainly around Knight units. So I think this card's going to see its way into light decks, at least at 1. So next we got United Empowerment. It's a 1-cost spell that reads play only if you destroyed an opponent's tower this turn. Reveal the top 5 cards of your deck, equip as many revealed gear as possible to units you control, send the rest to the discard zone. So this card has a community split right now, I think. I think some people really like it and then others think it's not very good. The ones who don't think it's very good have the mindset that you're not going to be playing a whole lot of gears anymore. You're probably going to be using Shining Shard Dagger and maybe Caliber. Other than that, maybe not a whole lot. And then the other ones who like this obviously are continuing with the large gear strategy, utilizing Iskandar, things like that. I don't know where I stand on this, just because light now seems like the type of deck that can win even faster than what it did before. It can still utilize Repperbloom, but now they have a bunch of other tools at their disposal to go even faster, namely an Omega unit that we're going to review here in a second. But I don't think this card's needed. It's kind of cool if it resolves and you equip at least 2 gears off of this card's ability, but I really don't think it's necessary. Now we're looking at Cosmic Light Magic. It's a 2-cost spell that reads this card costs 1 less to play for each face-up light tower, and you can exhaust target unit you control, and if you do, deal damage equal to its power to target face-up tower. Interesting card. Anytime you have a smaller unit that can't really attack because your opponent might have something big on the board, this is nice to use there, and then maybe swing in with your big guys to finish the game out. But like all of the other Cosmic Magics that we've looked at, again, situational. So I don't think this card would be played. So now we're looking at Orange Shining Rose Knight. This was actually the very first card that I spoiled for you guys in my spoiler video, but just to touch on it again, it's 4-cost unit, 2,000 power. He's a Rose Knight, and then spells cost your opponent 1 more to play for each gear you control, and then you can expel gears from your discard zone whose total cost equals 4 or more, and then he gains Immortal for the turn. I still think this card is very good. I think it's being underlooked right now. The problem is it's probably not its time because the Rose Knights still aren't fleshed out fully. I think they're going to get a lot of support in set 4, but even if they just get Citra, that's probably going to be enough to maybe transition to a Rose Knight strategy. But until then, he's probably going to sit on the bench. One thing to note is that empowerment card that we looked at, if you resolve it and get like 3 or 4 gears equipped to this guy, that's amazing. But yeah, right now I think he's sitting on the bench and just waiting for his time to come. So now we'll finish up with our Omega units for the light archetype. First one is Blessed Elemental, 3-cost unit, 3,000 power. You place it on any of your light units, and it says put a unit under this card into the discard zone. Target unit you control cannot be targeted by spells or abilities this turn. So very nice effect. 3 costs, though, is something that I'm not a huge fan of, but it's definitely not bad. 3,000 quickness monster that allows anything to not be targeted by spells or abilities is a nice finisher for sure. So I'm thinking you probably tech at least one of these in your deck. But compared to the other Omega units that you're about to see, it's rather lackluster. So the Argent Rare Omega for light is Nova Knight. It's 2-cost unit, 2,500 power. You need to place it on one of your Knight units. And it says put a unit under this card into the discard zone, exhaust or recover target unit. So this card is really making waves within the community. This card is fantastic. I think everyone agrees that it is. It's a very low-cost Omega unit. Not a whole lot of requirements involved, as well as you just need to place it on one of your Knight units, and we've got a couple good ones, especially low-cost ones. And then the fact that it can get 2 attacks in as early as turn 2 really makes light scary, even without Repro Bloom. I really don't know what light builds are going to look like because I am not a light player, but I don't even know if they need to run Repro Bloom anymore. Repro Bloom still might be an option because it is a threat, but with the Dark Spirit out, the Soul Burst of the Dark Spirit really ruins Repro Bloom's day. You're still going to save Repro Bloom, if you pump it with Liam or something like that, but all of the tokens are going to die and you're going to be set back a turn, where I think Nova Knight does the job better anyway. But I guess we'll see. Like I said, I'm not a light player, so I'm not quite sure what the strategy is going forward, but I guarantee any strategy is going to have 3 Nova Knight in it. So our last card is Kara the Glorious Valkyrie, 6-cost unit, 5,000 power. And her requirement is you need to place her on top of a light unit that's equipped with a gear. So the ruling on that is whenever a Omega unit is placed on top of a unit that has a gear equipped to it, that gear is now equipped to the Omega unit. So it doesn't lose it. It now gains that effect. So this requirement really isn't even a requirement, in my opinion. It just gets all of the benefits. But pressing forward, it also has Guardian, Target Attack, and Unblockable. So you're going to be killing things. And then also, if you're running Sola, this card's going to get restood, and then you're going to have a 5,000 Guardian unit. But its effect also reads this card costs 1 less to play for each of your destroyed towers, so it's even easier to bring out. And then it says neither player can play non-light spells, and non-light units come into play exhausted. So basically, if this card hits the field, you won. There's outs to it, obviously, but it's such an uphill climb that once you drop this, you essentially win. This card's dirty. It's probably, in my opinion, it's the best Secret Rare Omega we have. Ira's very good, but its requirements are much harder to achieve than Kara, obviously. Ariana is also very good, in my opinion. All of the Secret Rare Omegas are very good, but this one is, in my opinion, hands down the best one. And I think this is a new strategy that Light goes for, is getting this chick out, because whew, anytime your opponent has a Light unit equipped with a gear, you're going to be shaking in your boots. So this has been my 6-part series review of Ascension, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. I always enjoy doing these videos. I did this one a little differently, where I waited for the full set to come out to review things and then reviewed it by color. So if you like this format, just let me know. And if you want to stay tuned and up to date on all of the videos that I put out, be sure to subscribe. Like, comment, as always. Zeppelin out.